Hi guys, so we are going to go ahead and do a little bit of a plan with me today. It's going to be a little different because we're going to do a focus on finance, how I do my financial planning. So let's jump in. Before we start, there's a couple things I want to address. I am in no way a financial planner. I'm just sharing how I do my financial planning, what I do, to kind of give you an idea. Also, this system may not work for you, and that's fine. And that's here at She Plans, we believe that everybody's planning is different because we all have different circumstances. So maybe bits and pieces will work for you and not the whole thing, and that's okay. I just wanted to share how I do this to maybe give you some ideas, but let's jump in. So today I am using the financial insert bundle add-on inserts. And so these are in the shop. You can buy them in a whole bundle. You get 14 of the budget trackers, which look like this. You get 14 of the expense trackers that look like, I have a whole mess over here, like this. And then you get the sinking funds trackers that look like this. And for any of them, you can get them unpunched. So if you want to put them in something different and you don't want disc bound, or if you want to add them to any of our sewn planners, you can always grab a cover or a pocket. You can just stick them in there like so, and then you're ready to go when you're planning. So these are just our add-on inserts in the shop. And again, this is the financial insert bundle that I'm using. And then for my planner, I have my half-letter discs, and my inserts are from the Plan Your Way line. So again, I'll just kind of flip through those so you can see. And they are the same layout on the front and the back. And then you can also choose to do dot grid on these inserts if you don't want the same layout on the front as the back, in case you do it like monthly. But I'll show you why some of them have it front and back. So let's get started. So to start off, I'm gonna just set my planner aside. Is no matter where you are on your financial journey, I highly recommend doing doing what I call a budget refresh. And so me and my husband do this at least in January, and then sometimes we do it again 6 months later, depending on where our finances are and what our financial goals are and where we're at. And so let's just get started. So first, I think the very first thing you should do is with your partner, and if you don't have a partner, then by yourself, sit down and list any financial goals that you want to have for the next year, for the next 10 years, okay? Sometimes things are gonna take a little longer. If you have a lot of debt, it might not be happening in a year. And so what the budget refresh does is give you a clear picture. And so maybe you wanna just write down your goals, and then after you do your budget refresh, you want to tweak those goals so that they align with your real financial situation and what you can really accomplish in 1 year and then in 10 years. So from there, how I start out is I list every bill that we have at that time and the date that they are due and the amount. And so like I will just, quite honestly, I actually use a Word document. My husband has created an Excel spreadsheet. And so we just list out every bill. And the nice thing is if you're doing this year after year, then it doesn't change as much. But for your first initial budget refresh, it's probably going to take a little more work because you're going to have to get all of this down. And then every year you can just refresh, look at it, and then make the changes. So you want to write your mortgage, the amount it is with the date, your car insurance, the amount it is with the date, and you just go down. Also, I want to preface it, none of these numbers are my actual financial numbers. I'm just giving examples. So if it doesn't make sense, that's why these are not my actual numbers. Yes, I've used some examples for my real budget just so you get an idea, but this is not in any way my real financial situation, just for the privacy of my husband and myself. But it gives you an idea. So then the next thing you want to do is list every subscription service with the date that they renew. So even if it's a yearly subscription like your Sam's Club membership, then you want to go ahead and write that down, the date it renews, how much it is. And you do that. These are some of the subscriptions we have currently. Sam's Club, we have an Amazon membership, we have a vitamin membership, or subscription. We have Disney Plus, Adobe, Amazon Music. You Need a Budget, which is actually a financial app that I'll get into more towards the end. Costco, YMCA. Okay, so you want to list all of those out. Then you want to list every debt that you have: medical bills, credit cards, mortgages, student loans. So if you have more than one credit card, you want to say American Express credit card and the amount, and your payment date every month, and your mortgage, how much is left. And you wouldn't necessarily have to put the date they are due because you might have them up here already. And any student loans, maybe you have actually 2 different student loans, so break those down and you're doing this so that you get a big picture of your whole financial situation, so you can really look at every angle what you have going on in regards to your finance. And so the last thing that's nice to do is to list every financial account that you currently have and the amount of money you have. So if you have 2 checking accounts and the amount that's in there, if you have 4 savings accounts, the amounts that's in there. So you just know, looking at this sheet, your big picture of your finances. Okay, so then now that you've done that, you want to go back and cull all of this. So maybe you look at this list and you realize that you're spending a lot of money on your internet. And you know what? You could actually probably go internet shop and try to find a better rate. That's what we did this past year. We honestly, we live kind of out in the country. We don't have a lot of service providers. And when we moved into our house, we were paying $50 for internet. And beginning of last year, we were paying $90 in internet for the same service. They just kept raising our rate. And so we went and looked around for different internet providers. Another thing is you can always probably find a better cell phone plan. Even call the current company you're with. If you've been with them for a number of years, they usually do have really good offers for for good customers. Interesting enough, another example is me and my husband, our car insurance was up. And so we did shop car insurance, and we made that a priority to get a better rate, to make sure we had the perfect coverage. Just those are things you can look at, especially with your monthly bills, is trying to find where you can save money. The next thing is we probably all have a lot of subscription services we aren't using. So like this year, we decided not to do Costco anymore. We actually live an hour and 20 minutes from Costco. We don't go up that way enough. We would only go a couple times a year. And so it honestly wasn't worth the membership for us. Another thing is we realized we had a YMCA membership and we weren't really using it this summer. And so I just went ahead and paused it for the summer to save me that money. And then I decided, I actually looked into my vitamin service and I could get them cheaper, not on a monthly plan, somewhere else. And so I went ahead and did that. And so see, right away, I'm cutting and saving money where I can. Also, you can start coming up with a debt plan, like where you're going to tackle first, or what do you want to get rid of. And if you realize you only have $500 on one card, and you could get that easily paid off in 1 or 2 months and knock it out, then that could be your focus, And so I think having this big picture is really helpful. Then the next thing I do is we list everything that we spend on a monthly basis, not included in bills, and their category. And so, and decide a budget amount. And then I make these into sub accounts. So I actually have a main account, and it's with a credit union. And then credit unions actually have these sub accounts you can get. And so we actually have our main checking account, but then we have these sub accounts that have their own debit card. And so we actually have a debit card for groceries that's separate. So it's like a separate little account. I put money in there. I use that debit card just for groceries. So then it kind of helps me separate all of the things that I'm spending on groceries, and it's easier for keeping track. It's easier to know how much I have towards groceries, and we never go over. So these are just some categories I'm going to share with you. So we do groceries, and what groceries include for us is food, toiletries, and any stock up items. And we actually do $100 per person. And so, yeah, I have 7 people in my house. So that's $700 that we put into groceries. But with inflation, we've actually decided to add an extra 100 because we were actually going over our budget. And so that gives us 800. But then also the nice thing is now I know monthly I have $800 to spend on groceries, and I can divide that by 4 weeks. So that gives me $200 a week to spend on groceries. So that's a nice way to look at it. And then this money is always in there. When I'll show you when our money, a lot of our finances are done electronically. And so when our grocery money hits at the beginning of the month, then I know that each week I have $200 for my groceries. So then another sub account that we have is our auto account. And this includes gas, car tags, car maintenance. And we actually upped this. It's no longer $200, but it is for other things. The nice thing is we don't spend a lot on gas every month. And so there is always extra to start building kind of like a sinking funds for our car tags, for car repairs, oil changes, all of that. And then our next subcategory that we have is fun money. And this includes unplanned shopping, family outings, and eating out. And so that's a set amount. And so again, like I said, these are our subcategories. You can make, and these should be categories where you're spending a majority of your money. And all of this is going to help you make your budget for the month. So then the next thing you should do is list all of the things that would be nice to have in your budget and for future needs. So like some more sinking accounts or subcategories. So another nice to have that me and my husband have been trying to add to our budget is an allowance for each of us, where just, a set aside of money where we don't have to account for it in the budget. We can spend it however we want. Like if my husband wants to go golfing for the month, or just kind of like a treat yourself account. Sinking funds that we have is vacation, Christmas, homeschool for homeschool materials, and birthdays. And so your sinking fund should be accounts where if they came up and they would ruin your budget because they were so big, that's what you should be setting aside money for. And so like for Christmas, every month we put away $100. So then at the end of the year, we have this big chunk of change to use on Christmas. It doesn't come out of our budget. It doesn't come out of savings. It doesn't go on a credit card. It is just there. And then the last thing that you should write down is an amount that you would love to put away each month for your savings, whether that be small. Maybe right now you're in a financial situation and you can't do savings right now. You want to just get your debt paid off. You could always start small and just maybe say, this month I'm only going to put $10. I really think savings is really important. And wherever you can squeeze that out of your budget, even if it's $10, you should do it. So from there, now that you have this whole big picture, you see what is going on, you can start creating your new budget. And so what I do is I create a master budget list, okay? And so me and my husband don't like have a calendar where we say this bill is due on this day, this bill is due on this day. You want to get to a point where you can, one, automate all of your expenses so you're not worrying about them. And two, so that you can just stick with your budget. I think me and my husband have tried so many different financial systems, and this is what works the best for us. Okay, and again, you may not be able to do this right now. And how we got here was, there's some months, so my husband gets paid every other week, and so there's some months where he gets a third paycheck in the month. And that money we use to get ahead on bills. Tax returns is another great thing to use to get ahead on bills. Okay. And so for our master budget list, he gets paid twice a month. Okay. And you're like, well, what about She Plans? Right now, I'm not getting any money back from She Plans. I'm not paying myself yet. We're not there. We're just, I've only done this a year. It's actually everything we make goes back into the business so that we can have more product. So we don't even account She Plans into our current budget. So we just have my husband's first paycheck. And so he gets paid twice a month. And so we know how much that amount is each month. It's the same amount. And so we have decided, here's his first paycheck, this amount, and here's his second paycheck. Now we break up all the bills between when they are due. So our mortgage is due like on the 15th of the month. So that has to come out of, it actually really doesn't matter, because what we do is we take out our mortgage twice a month because it is a big amount. And so we break it in half, and each paycheck, a part of each paycheck goes into the bank for mortgage. Then we do pay tithing for both paychecks. And then we pay 10% of our income to our church. And then we have car insurance. And so the way that it's due, it has to come out of this first paycheck. And so interesting enough, with car insurance, that's kind of like the mortgage is kind of, we've gotten ahead on that. And this is something you can save money on, is if you actually pay your car insurance in a big chunk, you can actually save money. And so what we did with our tax return is paid that car insurance when we switched last year in that big chunk. And so then every month after that, we're just putting money aside to get ready for the next big chunk. And it's there, and we don't worry about it. It comes out every 6 months, and it's there. Then we have life insurance. And then we do set money aside. This was another sub account that I didn't include, but my kids have extracurricular activities. And so we set out $300 to pull from that for any of their extracurricular activities. Then we have a Disney Plus and Amazon Music and our internet and trash. And so this is how we break up our expenses and our sinking funds and our subcategories, is between each paycheck. And then the next thing you can do, like I said, is, a lot of checking accounts have bill pay. You can set up a lot of automatic withdrawals with these companies, and we do that. And it just automatically comes out of our account. We don't have to track it by month. And so I just have this master budget list. Also, what I have done is I have created a Word file, and my master budget list is actually on a 1/2 letter size sheet, and I've punched it, and it's in the back of my planner in the extras so that I can go ahead and always refer to it. Okay. And then you're like, well, how do you financial plan after this? Okay. So now I have my big picture, I have my budget, and this is where we go. So yes, I have my master list that I can look at any time. And let's go into August, since it is August. after I've done all my monthly planning, so here's my monthly plan, I grab a budget tracker, okay? And I do this next. And this, again, aren't true numbers. I just did a quick mock-up. And so I fill this out by month. And so this would be the first paycheck my husband gets. And this would be the second paycheck that my husband gets. And you're like, well, you have a master list. Why do you write it all down again? Well, I'll tell you, is some months it changes. Like in July, my kids did not use their extracurricular activities money because we had company here most of the month, and so we didn't sign up for anything. So again, that month I would have $300 unaccounted for because it's not going to get spent. Also, sometimes some of these bills, this is just on average, like my lighting bill fluctuates. It's not the same every month. You know, there's other things, you know, like this month, next month, I might not have a gym membership. So then doing this every month keeps me on track to see when I have problems with my budget. And I do this specifically to be like, you know, okay, I'm writing all these things down and I'm like, oh, wait, we don't need the gym membership anymore. So I remember to go call and cancel it. It helps me keep on track of any subscriptions that I have that maybe I'm not using. Again, with the vitamins, I can get rid of it. And then it also keeps me on track, you know, maybe I need to put more to savings, so I need to readjust this. And then we do always leave a little bit of extra, and I call this my slush fund, and I again put it in, it just sets in my checking account in case my light bill is high one month, or in case my kids spend a little more on their activities. I have this slush fund, and at the end of the year, I just add it to savings and start over again the next year. And so I do this every month when I do my monthly planning and fill out this budget tracker, and then it just sets right behind my monthly insert, and I know exactly where it is. The next thing I do is when I am monthly planning, I update my sinking funds category, and these usually set in the extras tab, and I have it, you could do Christmas here, and then homeschool here, and then you could have your next sheet and do maybe auto, and then your next sheet, and then you can have all your sinking funds together. That's why they're front and back. And so, you know, this one is for Christmas, and then this one is for homeschool, or maybe you need to save up for like kids going back to school, like clothes and all those things. So whatever your sinking funds are, and then I just update them on a monthly basis when we're paying out our budget tracker, and I update it to see where I'm at with sinking funds. And again, like I said, this just goes in my extras tab. And then the last thing I do is have my expense tracker. And so I usually have my weekly. And then I put in my expense tracker after my weekly insert. And when we are really buckling down with our money, I always have an expense tracker. And I do this for so many reasons, and this is so helpful, is by writing things down, you're aware of where your money is going. Did you know that 60% of Americans don't even know where they spent money last month? And that's boggling because, you know, we're in such a digital era. We just swipe the card, and then we get to the end of the month and we're like, hey, where did all of our money go? And so by writing it down, it actually helps you be aware of where your money is going. And especially when me and my husband are really trying to save money, or we're really working on our financial goals, we do write down our expenses. And so I write them down, and I just do, so like Walmart, I spent $93. So now this month I spent $93 and like that. And then at the end of the month, I just put it right here at the end of all my things, and I put them all together. So I use this continuous list front, then back, grab another sheet, start again till the end of the month, and then I just leave those in the back here, and that way I can go back, and I do sometimes highlight things like, you know, I start to notice that we've eaten out a ton. And so I will go highlight all of the times that we ate out, and I will get another sheet, or at the end, like right here, I'll write eating out and the total, or how much I spent on Amazon and the total, so that I have a big picture of where my money is going. And so I just stick these in the back, and that is the long story of how I do expense tracking, or my financial planning for the month. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I really hope you found some of this helpful and got some ideas for your own finances, and I will talk to you soon.